Good evening, everyone. Alrighty, so tonight we're going to get back on with some DevOps. I'm just going to turn that music down a little bit. That should be good. Cool. Alrighty, so yeah, we're going to resume what we started last week. So last week we created a basic .NET application, which we can see in this folder here. Just a standard Blazor kind of front-end demo app. And then we created our infrastructure as code. So we can see here we've got our infrastructure set up using a app service and an app service plan in Microsoft Azure. And we've got our container registry set up as well. So that's where we'll be storing our Docker images when we build them. We did set up a very basic Docker file. We will most likely be redoing this as we're going to have to do some stuff around creating certificates and things like that, because we do want to enable HTTPS. We do want to be secure. And we also set up a very basic CI/CD for deploying the infrastructure using Terraform. So this does our Terraform plan, set up our init, and then applies any changes that are coming from that. So we'll be extending this pipeline to include application build and things like that. As always, the source code for this is available on GitHub, which I will post a link to the current repo in the chat. And we will get started. There we go. That is the current repo with its current status. Great. Alrighty. So, I think first things first. So, I've got the application open and running inside a container. So, we're going to be using the container environment for our development, so dev containers. Which is defined here in dev containers, and we're using the Azure CLI, Terraform, and then Docker and Docker to give us access to Docker through the container. So now we're currently on a branch which we called Docker setup. We haven't actually merged this into our main branch as of yet, but that's okay. So we're going to work from here, and we're going to then get this building as a Docker container, get it pushed into Azure Container Registry, and we'll go from there. Alright, so I think we've got a Docker image is working. So if I go into the demo and let's have a look. So we got the Docker file there, so we go Docker build, and we'll just call this local. Call it Twitch app demo or local, so give it a tag there. No, it doesn't like the tag. I think I have to do it that way, and then it doesn't like the capitals. Read the error messages helps. So we go Twitch app demo. Then here you go, local. Oops, if I type correctly, get all my typos out the way now. There we go. Yep, there's not like capitals inside the name of containers. So there we go. So we've got that running. Now if I open Docker here on my local machine, it's telling me it needs an update, but that's okay. What we can go into here, we can have a look at the images, and we should have it. It's available outside. We built it in here. No, it's mostly keeping that inside. That's okay, because we are using Docker and Docker, so we are trying to get Docker running more normally. So if I go Docker, what is the command to show all the images? Let's have a look here. Lots of options for Docker here. So we want to image. So if we say docker image and ls, so docker image list, that'll show us. There we go. So we've got a few versions of this app running. So called a Twitch app the first couple of times with different tags, but this is the one we built today. Local. Okay, so that all seems like that's built fine for the moment. So let's get to work building that inside the workflow. So this should be pretty straightforward. And so what we're going to do is we're going to come in here and we're going to, after the Terraform apply, I'm going to create one called docker image build, and we're going to give it name build, and then we're going to say needs for this, and yep, so we want it to need the Terraform apply. So what we're telling it here is that we're saying, oh, there's a dash there, that only run the build for Docker if Terraform apply has run successfully. Now, Terraform apply will run successfully even if there are no changes, which is good because that's what we want. We want to kind of go through that if there's nothing to update, that's still a successful run. But if it has a change or it's unable to verify that there are no changes, that's when we want it to fail, and we don't want it to actually kind of go beyond that. Okay, and then I think we want to set the defaults. Actually, we'll do the runs on. So just runs on Ubuntu latest defaults run. So this is just setting our working directory for when we use the run command. Directory, and we'll just grab. So how do we do it above here? We just do it. We can do this dash infra, and in this case, the working directory will be Twitch app demo. Oh, that's the wrong button, that one. And I've noticed that our Copilot has gone again because I didn't add Copilot as an extension to the image yet, so I need to do that. I need to remind myself to do that. Okay, so just there we go. Install Copilot. Copilot is there running. That's good. Copilot just helps us get through some of this, does some better kind of autocorrect and things like that, and auto completion, which is useful. Alrighty. So we got our defaults, we got our need. So let's get into our steps. Alright. And we're just going to call this one Docker build. So we'll take Docker. Now, what we're going to do is we want to go check if there is a GitHub action for Docker. So if we go GitHub actions Docker. Alright. So we can do it this way. So we can use the build and push. But we're going to want to push this to ACR. So what we want to do, look for Azure Container Registry. No, that's not the one we want. Deploy container by GitHub Actions. I think this might be it. So we've already got all the service principals and everything created. So that's fine. We should have access to the registry for authentication. Okay. So we have the we're using the OIDC Connect to do that. So that's fine. Here we go. So it's actually wanting us to use the that there. We're not going to do this container instances as of yet. So we will do the login, which I think we did. So we're using the OIDC here. So that's fine. So we should then be able to do the same. So let's do the login. So actually, yeah. Let's make sure we do that first. So let's go check out GitHub. Check out. So we're just going to check out. That's going to use actions. Check out v3. And then we're going to use that. So login. CLI. I don't know if login v1 is the most up to date, but we'll put it in there and we can always update that as it needs. And with client ID, ID, tenant ID, and then the subscription ID. Okay, pretty sure that's what we've got set up, and actually we could just, well no we can't, we should be able to just use those, but we'll see. We might actually be able to remove these because it may use those environmental variables instead, but that's okay. Let's just go with that for the moment. Now this is going to call the ACCLI to use the build. Now I'm not sure if this does the build away feedback hub on the container registry, or if it does the build locally. Because I prefer it to do the build kind of locally, so using Docker rather than pushing it out to ACL, but let's give it a shot. Let's see what it does. So we say build and push image. That's fine. Let's give it an ID. Build image. Yep, which makes sense. We want to be able to reference this and make sure it's passed. And then we run ACR build image. Secrets.registry login server, and then this is where we will put the name of our app, so we'll call it Twitch app demo. Now this is using the GitHub SHA. I prefer to use the build number, so if we just go GitHub actions, get build number. So now we don't want an action to get build number. It should just be a reference. Why am I not finding variables? So what we want to do is we want to get the defined variables. Where are you? So it should be just a list of default environment variables. So what we're looking for is the build number. So let's actually do a... don't want it over there. Let's try uppercase. Let's not do case sensitives. Where is the build ID gone? Might also be just referred to as the run. Alright. Oh. There it is. Should be GitHub dot run number. There we are, GitHub run number. So that's fine. So if we do github.run number, so this will then tie the number, the version ID into the version of the run. So that's fine, because you don't want to use the SHA, because the SHA is a big, horrible number. That'll be hard to then relate back to which run actually deployed that, so that's fine. Okay, and now we want to do the registry here. Again, server. And then we want the file to be Docker file. Alrighty, so we are, and then we've got to run it in that directory. Okay, so we are using a run here, so that should use our working directory, which is the Twitch app demo. That's fine. And then we're calling the AZCLI, which we've logged into. We're saying ACR build. We're given the image name. Okay, that should be fine. Now we're not doing any deployment just yet, so let's save this and give it a test. Let me see. Right, doc build to workflow. Didn't like that because we need to do it at the base level because the workflow is stored in the doc GitHub directory. It's fine. Let's push. Alright. So now with our workflow, we have set this to run off pushes to the main branch, but we also have the ability to do a workflow dispatch. So that's fine. So let's do that, and let's make sure we check that. And let's run this workflow. And we instantly fail. It does not like something. Workflow is not valid because I can't spell. So line 104. Pretty sure I misspelled secrets there. That'll do it. Let's just double check that the other ones are correct. Yep, that should be fine. typo. And we'll push this one up now. Alright. And now let's rerun this workflow. Let's see if we can work that time. Alright, this time it's running. Alright, so let's go into each step. So again, we're doing our Terraform plan. So this is going to check to see if there are any changes needed in the environment, in the infrastructure, which there shouldn't be. I haven't changed infrastructure since last week. So that should be fine. Okay. Alright. Yeah, so it must be worth checking to see if this ACR build actually calls Docker locally. We should be able to see from the logs whether or not it's running that build locally or if that's actually running that build inside Azure Container Registry, which is fine. We can totally do it that way. It's just a different way of doing it. And Copilot deactivated itself somehow. That's alright. Reactivate Copilot. And we'll also keep an eye on whether or not running the whole infrastructure component is slowing us down. Because you can see here it's taking a while to do this initialization. What we might want to do is set up a couple of workflows. One which actually only triggers when there's a change made to the infrastructure. So made to the infra path here for this folder. And if there's no changes there, then don't bother running any of the Terraform stuff. Just run the actual application build. But we can set up that more complex CI/CD later. Now, what could be happening here is also, because it's been a week since we've done it, we could have our credentials maybe expire. So we may need to do that. Could also be an issue with our, let's go and check. So we're just going into Azure here. So we still have our TF state there and our storage count. And storage count is still there, the lease is still accessible, so that's fine. So this could just be, could be credentials. It could be all sorts of things. So let's just give it a bit longer to run. GDOS. So while that's doing that, I might go and validate the credentials quickly. So I'm just going to bounce that off screen for the moment. Okay. It looks like it should still be good. I think I know what's going on here. We are running it from a separate branch. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually go and add some credentials for the branch in. So yeah, so what this is doing is that because we're using OIDC, we actually have to tell the credentials, so the application that's registered, what branch it's coming from, or else it's not going to authenticate us. Okay, we called this branch Docker setup. So I'm just going to do this as a temporary. So okay, so let's go and add that. So what we'll do is we'll cancel this workflow and we're going to restart it. Okay. So that's all been cancelled. That's fine. Let's make sure we cancel that workflow. All right. So let's try this one again. So try the Docker setup. We'll run the workflow again with new credential added. Hopefully this time it'll run smoother. Now again, normally you wouldn't want to do it this way. You would want to actually set up maybe an environment deploy or something like that, and only have this happen when we merge the change into our main branch, which we can set up later. Just for testing for now, I'm going to just split this branch up. Oh, sorry. Okay. Just setting that job up. There we go. So past the Terraform minute, we're into the Terraform plan stage again. Hopefully this time it goes a whole lot faster and smoother. Okay, so still in plan. Hopefully it doesn't have too long to make sure they update that credential. But yeah, feel free to ask any questions in the chat while we're waiting for pipelines to run. While waiting for pipelines to run is kind of the best time to ask questions, search for things. Here we go. That's kicked in. Cool. Alright, so Terraform plan has functioned. It says there are no changes to infrastructure, which is great. So now we're just going through our apply step. So there'll be nothing in the apply because there was no changes to actually apply, which is good. Alrighty. Now on to the stage we actually wanted to test, the building of the Docker image. Okay, so we're doing our login. Okay, here we go. So it's failed. What didn't it like? It said registry, so apparently when we called registry login server, we don't actually have any information for that. Okay. That's fine. Let's go and check. I'm just going to go and check what we've got inside our secrets and variables for, not Code spaces for actions. And that's correct, so we don't actually have the server name there. So what we'll do is create a new secret. And we're going to call this registry server login or login server. So that's fine. And then we're going to go over here. Now, this is going to be problematic in the case of we redeploy the container registry with a different name. But in this case, we're not intending to deploy that with a different name, so that should be fine. So we're going to add that secret. Okay, great. Let's go and rerun that pipeline. So rerun Docker setup, run workflow. And that's a lot of what kind of CI/CD is there's a lot of trial and error. So you kind of change something, see if it works, run the pipeline, see where it fails, debug. So it's not really dissimilar from kind of your application building skills, where you're trying to work out what point did what I'm trying to do fail and how do I fix that. And what I find works for me is doing small incremental changes. So kind of fixing one thing, seeing how that affects the whole thing, just trying to get the error message to change. Generally, if I get the error message changed, to me that's a really good way of knowing that I'm progressing in the right direction. That does mean you end up with a lot of failed build pipelines, but that's fine. No one really minds if you've got 50 failed build pipelines. The only one that's important is the one that's worked and has a great tick. Because you can always go and clean up the old ones later if you want. Alright, so just going through the Terraform again, so there shouldn't be any changes, just as we did before. Okay. Alright, we're on to our image building. Let's see if there's so we were missing the registry before, so we've added that registry in. Okay, so we're logging into our Azure CLI, so that's fine. So now we're doing the build and push. Okay, it's giving us a couple of little warning information here saying that the endpoint suffix is being ignored. That's fine. So now it's grabbed our Docker file and it's building our Docker image. Okay. Now it's doing the actual build of the application, so it's doing the restore, it's doing that publish. Setting up the ports and setting our entry point. Alright, so now it's pushing the image to the repository. Great, that all looks like it worked. So let's go have a look at the repository then. So this, we're in Azure here, we're into our Azure Container Registry. We can see the repository for the Twitch app demo. And it's giving us tag of 12. Which I believe will coincide if we go to the build. It was build number 12. So we can see that here, build 12. So that's it's a good reason to have the build number be the tag. We'll also need to look at doing kind of things like latest stuff like that, but we'll look at some of that stuff later. Alrighty, so we've got that available now inside the registry. That's great. Alright, what we want to do now is we want to deploy that version to our app service. So what I'm going to do, so let's go GitHub Actions, deploy to Azure App Service. So let's have a look here. So we've configured all this information. I don't think we want to do any of this stuff. It's fine. Now this is deploying to an app service. Okay, so this is doing, I think, a web app. But what we want to do is we actually want a Docker version of that. So we're going to deploy a Docker image. So have a look at this one. So build container image, and we're push. So that this is another way to do the Docker build and push. So that's fine. Okay. And then we want to deploy to an app service container. Okay, so we should actually just be able to use this here. So let's try that. So again, this is going to be a pretty simplistic workflow. So let's do this Steam. Let's do all. No, don't want to do that Steam. So I'm just getting rid of my Steam, so I don't want that popping up. That's fine. Okay. So we're going to call this deploy to Azure App Service. Here we go. Thank you. Alright, so I don't think I need all of the login, but B2 and app name. Now I'm just going to hard code that for the moment, but again, this is something we'll mostly add into an environmental variable because we don't like to hard code. And there we go. It's worked. Thank you, GitHub Copilot. So it's worked out. So registry login server, the name, and then the run number. Okay. And that's reminded me, we should also add in the end here a logout, just to be clean. All right. Let's go add that. All right, and we'll push that up and through. Okay, great. So again, we'll switch to our Docker setup branch and we'll run workflow. All right, that's running again. Okay. So just keeping an eye on a few things for the stream. No, everything is going well. So, all right, cool. So we're through the Terraform plan. Yeah, that takes a little bit, doesn't it? So we will definitely be looking at splitting the Terraform component off to its own pipeline. And then what we'll most likely do is if there's a change to the infrastructure, it'll deploy both the infrastructure and the application. But if there's just a change to the application, it won't deploy the infrastructure, it'll just update the application. I think that's going to be the best way of doing that there. That'll also lead into a thing I want to show a bit later, which is the ephemeral dev environment. So what that is that allows us to have a development environment which has the same components as production environment in the cloud, but it cleans it up and disposes of it when we don't need it anymore. So it's kind of really useful to know that your application and your infrastructure is working. There are no issues with that when you do things like pull requests before merging that code in. Alright, so now we're doing our image build. So doing the push and so the build and push. Okay. Pushing that is tag 13. Alrighty, so didn't like something with that deploy. What didn't we like? So the resource Twitch app demo doesn't exist now, so this could be a problem with the way I named it, which would not be a surprise because I called it Twitch app 01-app, so that's not going to help. So let's take that and let's change the app name here. Service name. So again, this is also why it'll be good to set these things up as environmental variables, even for the Terraform, so we can kind of make that consistent and not run into those issues in the future. So, but these are all things we'll fix up kind of post this, so we'll get this working first, and then we'll do a pass on all of this and try and fix up a lot of the things which aren't specifically very good, such as hard coding of things like app name, and we'll pick out some of those kind of key little issues and come up with kind of best practice on how we want to do this in a more reusable and more consistent manner. But it's always good to get something working first and then do that run to make that work and to kind of update those. And the more you do it, the more you'll kind of like instinctively go to, okay, let's pull all the hard coding out to start with and things like that. Okay, so let's run our workflow again. Alright, so again, I'm going to try Terraform, no changes here. So I do think later what I'd like to do is add in a database to this program. So we'll be kind of moving on with it. We'll be developing a bit further. We will create kind of an identity part of the application. I'm keen to kind of get into the identity piece with .NET, and especially I think they've done some changes to that which make it a bit easier to integrate Azure Active Directory, so I want to explore that. But it will get some user authentication in place, some identity in place. To do that, we want to use a database because we want to store data in relation to who the identity is, not necessarily store any credentials or anything. That'll be handed off to Azure Active Directory. But we want to store information such as the user's preferred name, some user-specific data. What I'm thinking of initially is to try and build this out kind of like a blog page, not really a blog page, but have the ability to make posts by users and have those be searchable. We might integrate some OpenAI stuff a bit later, but essentially we're just going to build up on some good principles with things like identity, then how we use databases. At that point we might migrate away from Azure App Service and look at Azure Container Instances, or maybe even Azure Container Apps. Not going to go the full Kubernetes on this one. Definitely don't think we'll get to that kind of scale. Plus Kubernetes setting up that service with all the parts to it will be a bit beyond the scope of what we're trying to cover here. Unless we could get to a big project later. Who knows? This is week 2, so don't have a solid plan on exactly where we're going yet, but we'll work it out as we go. Alright, so we're to the deploy to the app service. So it's updating the app service configuration settings and it's restarting the app. Alright, restarted the app service, so we'll just wait for this to finalize, and then what we'll do is we'll go and check the app service that's running and see if it's got the correct container image, and then see if we can access it. There we go. Yep, and it's given us the, so we go into here, let's say it's done that, and it's giving us the URL. So let's see if the URL, nope, doesn't like something, but that could be many different things. So let's go have a look at the app service itself. Okay, so it looks like maybe the app service isn't running, so let's start that up. That could also be the problem, but let's also now go into the configuration and let's check to see if that image was correctly updated. It should be. I don't have any reason to believe it won't be. Okay. So this is just some application settings. So nothing in there. Oh no, so here we go. In the so yep, we did update it to 14. Let's have a look. So it is running. Let's see if we can load it. No, application error. So something's not happy. Let's see if we can go view some logs. No, we're not getting anything. Let's extend this out. And what we want some app logs. Audit logs. Okay. Alright, let's just see if we can get some basic console logs out. No, nothing in there. Alright. Now, I haven't looked at what kind of logs we want to do. Should just be able to get all of the logs. I mean, but doesn't appear to be any logs running at all, so let's just bounce back. Okay. We will look into logs and everything eventually. We're not doing that just at the moment. So let's just have a look here. What can we get to? No, we're not getting any logs out of this at all at the moment. Okay, that's all right. Maybe we can get in via SSH. See if we can actually get into. See if the container's running at all. We got a connection closed. Don't think we're getting anything at all. Alright, we might end up needing to enable some kind of logging. Yep, SSH isn't getting in at all either. I don't really want to turn on application insights at the moment. And this will just be metrics, which again we're not particularly interested in. What I'm going to do is I'm going to try and run this locally. So we docker image PSLS, we go docker run and I think we'll do 80 because I didn't put in the tag, which is fine. So we go local. Alright. So now that's there. So now if we do a port forward and we say 8080, and then I will copy that address. So let's see if I can actually hit that from my local machine. No, it doesn't look like that's working very well. Okay. Okay. Now, how do we debug this? We've got the application is deploying into the app service, so that's fine. But it's not running. App service logs. We want to do more of a log stream. That will be more useful for us. Okay. So, what's going on here? That's right. Let's okay. So we got a log stream happening, and what we're going to do is we're going to restart the app. Okay. So we should be able to see some kind of logs coming up here. Alright. Now I haven't used app service too much. So this could be something quite simple. This could be that I've not set something up correctly. Okay. Let's have a look. No, that's fine. I don't think we want that. Let's get the configuration. Okay, so we got HPS is off, so that should be okay. We will change that later. Okay. Alright, let's start by asking Google. Alright, let's just go through the quick start, see if I'm... So we've got the container registry, that's fine. So this should be fine. Let's go check our Docker image. So we're not setting... Well, we're using the default port, so we're not setting any specific environment there that should be needed. So I mean, we can see here when we run it, I mean, it's running on port 80. So this is how you would deploy it manually, which again is not what we're doing. Well, let's just go and set up in the deployment center. No, it's from an error, so let's go and try and fix that error. No, here's the... okay, here we go. Unable to verify and pull the image. Okay. So let's go to load ACR tags. Let's see if saving that, see if that updates it. Okay. Well, let's see if we can restart now. Back to here, we'll go back to the logs. Still getting image pool failed. Right, still doesn't like something to do with that. Can I set up managed identity? Right, let's try with a system assigned managed identity. See if that helps. I think, yeah, we're not getting, so it's not accessing the container registry correctly. Okay, so let's have a look at that. Let's go. Okay. Not quite what I'm after there just yet, but that's right. Let's just go back in. Just going to give it a restart here. Okay, so we are pulling image. I think that's the details for doing the token provider. Looks like it's still didn't do it. Okay, so let's go here. Okay. Let's see Stack Overflow, see if that helps us here. So that's using Terraform. Okay, so maybe it wants us to do that. Okay. Now we do provide, when we set it up, I think, yep, we do. So we do provide it with the Docker registry username and password, which we do have here. We have registry password, registry server. I don't have that a few times. I do need to check that. It seems to be doing it a few times, but that should be fine. Let's go and check our registry. So what we might need to do is we should be using those access keys. That should be fine. Back to the deployment center here. Now we've mostly changed things so when we rerun the app settings will change. Yeah, site config here is also doing that. What I might do authorize this. Okay, it's asking for authentication. All right. There we go. It's fine. Which one? Actually, we don't want to do it that way because we've already done that. We've already set that up ourselves. So we have the admin credentials. Save that one. Make Superfly credentials here. So that's from a private endpoint. So we don't want the private endpoint. Let's have a look through a few more blogs, see if anyone else has come up with something that I'm missing. Okay, so scenario where the ACR and app servers are indifferent, but so they're not, they're in the same, so that should be fine. Alright, just gonna go check that I have set this up correctly. It's going to pop into another window because it is to do with identity, so just always like to make sure that I'm not accidentally showing any keys. Okay, now I've got the admin user is enabled, so that should be fine. Okay. What did we have here? Oh no, we had a successful pull. Okay, apparently we set that up and that's fine. Let's give that a test then, eh? So if we go back to here, supposedly this is running now. There we go. Okay, so it must have just had to ensure that the app settings here were correct. When we redeploy, because I'm sure when we redeploy it will redeploy the app service now because we have changed something. But we have our application. And we can do all these things with it. Okay, great. So let's close all those windows down. And we can close that one down too. So what we want to do then is we want to push an update. Alright, let's first things first, let's merge this Docker setup branch because we are done with the Docker setup. So let's do a pull request. Cool, sorry, into... Alright, so we'll create that pull request. Alright, so that says that's fine, so we're going to go ahead and we're going to merge. So I'm going to delete that branch, we don't need that branch anymore. Now we should have kicked off our action. Now here's what we'll see if what we did changed anything to do with the kind of app settings as they are. Okay, so it's just refreshing all those states. Okay, and yes, so we have some changes that are happening there. So it is going to wipe out our changes, but that's okay. Okay, so that's this goes change, that's fine. Ah. There we go, that's something. So it was using this full name here, and then it's shortened it to that one. And we actually have called it Twitch app there instead of Twitch app demo. So that's going to throw a few spanners in the works, but that's okay. We can fix those. So that's right. So that's going to apply that. So that's going to kind of break what we've just fixed. That's right. We're going to say demo there. And we're actually going to give this its full you know, let's leave that alone. Let's just do the Twitch app demo, and then we'll also actually let's, so we've made a change here, which we don't actually want to keep. So what most of them do is stash them so that we can switch the branches. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to, so I'm just going to undo that. We don't have that many changes, so that's fine. So that's fine. Alright, and then we're going to git checkout. And then we're going to say, we call this one fix name. And we're going to push that one up. And we're going to do this push again. And we don't need the working tree there, that's fine. Right, so if we also come back in here and we go back to this app here. That's refreshed. It's still currently pointing to that image. Did we not do the... Oh, it's doing this deploy here, that's right. So the plan should have been to change it. So it would have removed the identity entirely, removed this, so this actually might need updating, but we'll see. And it updated that with that name. Okay. Go back into the deployment center here. So then that's again pushed and change the config there. Okay, so it's failed to load the SEO tags because I think it's failed to log in. If you look in here, yep, it's failed to log in. We are getting the correct there, that's alright. Okay, so this one doesn't matter as much, but we are going to fix it. Alright, and now we're going to so I think what could have been missing here, go back and look at the plan. Sorry, the plan here. So let's actually go and change these. All right. Okay, I'm going to push those. So what we've done is we've updated the application to the Docker image name. We have also updated the URL there, that username. Okay, that's fine. So what we'll do is we will now create a pull request, merge those in. Alright, let's merge. And leave the branch just in case we still have some issues. Alright, let's go have a look at the plan here. So we're expecting there will be a change, so we will see that those configs will change. Let's see if that changes our ability to access, or I might be missing that identity. Okay, just waiting for the Terraform plan to update. There we go, we've got our update. Now that's going to happen pretty much. So we're changing those Docker registry server username passwords and the application stack. So that'll change all the time. I mostly need to think of a better way of, so I'll have to start pushing to a latest tag there. But that's fine. We can do that. So let's apply. So we'll start thinking about how we're doing that. Push the latest. As we build and push here, we might just run that twice effectively. So we push a version and then we also push it to latest. Alright, so this is doing the Docker image build. And if you go back here, and refresh that configuration, see if that's updated now. So they have. See if we still get that error with, no, we still get that error unable to load ACR tags. Okay, that means we're still failing the authentication here. Now I wonder if just gonna save this and see what it does. This will be happening at the same time too. That's just going to change the image, Docker image name. Is the other thing we could be doing here as well, just thinking, is we could be running the application build, push the Docker image first, and then run the Terraform, and we could actually then provide that tag with the Terraform as well. But that's right, we'll think about that. Alright, so save that, and let's see if this now is able to connect. No, we still have an ACR tags failed. Let's try with that managed identity. We will say a system assigned. I'm just going to try that one. Alright, so that's done there. Load container logs. Alright. Okay, I think that's the one we just pushed with 16. Okay, so that looks like that's working. So let's go into so why no Vim? I'm not actually a fan of Vim. I much prefer Visual Studio Code. But each to their own. I mean, whatever IDE works for you, that's all good. So I'm not one to argue about what IDE people prefer to use. As long as you're productive, that's great. Alrighty. So now what we want to be doing is we need to check how we're doing our identity here. So I'm doing an identity block. Identity is block below. Alright. The application stack. Let's see all settings. Active Directory. Customer DC. So no, sorry, that's what's saying no Vim peps. I mean, I'm not sure what you're saying there, but I mean, yeah, as I said, each their own. So that's okay. Especially a lot of cloud stuff as well. I mean, Visual Studio Code, the extensions, just what sells it for me. Alright, keep going. Identity. Alright, so we want an identity block. We want to type. We want system assigned, and we don't need any IDs. Okay, so that's fine. And then I guess we just do that in here. So we just add in identity. Thank you, GitHub Copilot. So we just want a system assigned. Alright. Just add that in. That's fine. And yeah, I'm gonna add in the tag for the build, and I'll do a second push. So I'm just gonna copy that, and we're just going to redo that. In this case, we're not going to use the run number, we're going to use latest there. That's fine. Alright. So we'll push that one up. We should be able to now go back to GitHub and do a pull request. And it sounds like one of my cats has jumped up on the table. Alright. I don't want to do that. I want to compare that to main. That should be fine. Let's create that pull request. Alright. Let's go with that. That's fine. So let's commit that merge. Okay, we'll leave that branch there as we're still working for the moment. Let's go to the actions. Oh, no, we have an error. Does not. The identifier build image may not be used twice. Okay, what's going on here? Copy and paste. Got bit by copy and paste. So let's do that. Let me go moving duplicate tag, and we'll push that up, and we'll do another merge. That's fine. So moving that duplicate ID tag, and we'll merge that in. Great. All right. Now we should be good. That looks better. Alrighty. Now let's check what this plan is going to do this time. Just waiting for this plan. There we go. Alright, so we can see so updating in place. So the 10 use match identity was true, it's keeping the stack, that's fine. Okay. Doing our Terraform apply. Alright, so that'll apply that changes. Hopefully this should have added in that system assigned identity, which should allow us to authenticate with the Azure Container Registry. I wonder if I actually have to do something inside the app settings there to tell it to use that, but that's right. We'll find out in a minute. Once this updates, let me go in and check to see if it's actually updated that connection. Still modifying. That's right. Might take a little while, and then hopefully also this time now should be fine with that. Let's take a sip, but we didn't update this one here, so that's right. That'll still, we'll update that later, but we'll just force it to use the latest, which will be fine. Alright, so it's done its modifications and now it's going through the doc build. But while it's doing that, let's go have a look. I think it's still using the admin credentials here. It still failed to load. So let's have a look here. So we want the app settings. Doesn't really tell us anything further about those app settings. So let's go. see if we can find something here. Okay. So it's saying it should be enough to do that. So let's go have a look. So it's saying we don't need, so we just need the ACR details here. We have the identity set to system assigned here. So that's that one there. So that's on the application stack. I'm wondering if that one's a bit out of date, because that's the old one. Yeah, that might be the old one. So let's see if I can find a newer. See if this one. I think we were on this one earlier, but I want to do this via Terraform. Yeah, I don't think that one tells us anything about how to do it via Terraform. This is Microsoft documentation. Okay. Again, doesn't give us a whole heap to go off. So that's the application stack there. All right. Well, let's try and see if that's enough to. Maybe I should put that below the app settings there. So the site config with the application stack, app settings. Should that be in the site config actually? Should this all be inside here? What do you reckon? Maybe. Let's give it a shot. Let's see what happens. Let's see what happens. And also while I'm doing this, we're going to... I didn't check that too. Did that work? So the to build image, and that's pushed. Should push left. Okay. Alright. And we'll do a pull request. That's fine. Merge that pull request in. Alrighty. Now let's see if that just broke everything horribly. Because it could have. I mean, this may not be the way it wants to do its site config, but we'll find out. Nope, it did not like that. Alright, that's right. Now we know. Okay, let's just put that back. And we'll do it like that. Alright, push that one. And we've got Terraform config. And merge it. Alright, so we're going through the Terraform planning, and hopefully this time we can get that system assigned, got the Docker URL, so we've got the correct information there. Now the question will be whether or not we've got that setting where it's actually set the identity inside, but we'll find out. Here we go. Let's have a look at what that plan was doing. Alright, so it's removing those two app settings, which is fine. It's modifying the site config. We're changing those. Okay, so applying, so we should still have that system assigned identity in place. Alright, so once it's applied and that's run, we'll go and check. So we'll let the whole thing run, and then we'll go check. So while this is running, I might take a quick break, just have a stretch, grab a drink, and I will be back soon, hopefully with something that's running. And we're back. Alrighty. So let's just jump back in. So the pipeline's finished running. So we've done our Docker build. So let's go have a look and see if that updated what we wanted it to. I'm not sure about that. That doesn't look great. Let's jump into the deployment center here. No, we're still getting a fail on that ACR tags. Okay, so what we're going to do... for this to come through. Alright, so I've saved those now. Let's see if it'll refresh. Grab that latest image. It doesn't like something here I'm doing. I'm making some mistake here, which is kind of critical to how this wants to run. Let's give it a restart. Give it a restart, and that's doing it there. So what I might end up doing here is actually querying this config with this one here. And checking to see what it's actually done. Okay, this. I don't think I have the credentials in place anymore, so I don't know why it's trying to do that. Apparently it still does. I'm just going to delete these because I don't actually want them in. It's interesting it's not updating that when we're doing the update with Terraform. I wonder if this is an issue with just the app service, the way it wants to run. So that's right, let's restart it again. Back to the configuration here. Should also check identity as well. So let's check the config, then we'll check identity and see if that's been updated to system assigned. It doesn't want to show us the configuration. Alright, let's have a look at identity. See if that's updating. Okay, so we got that's on. Great. Okay. So you can pull that configuration again. So the configuration is there. Let's go look at the deployment center. Deployment center is acknowledging that we're on managed identity. Right. It was a few minutes ago since those logs were updated, so let's just refresh. Let's see if we've got anywhere further. Still getting a fail on pulling. All right. Yeah, not sure why it's starting to be a pain on this one. Okay. So let's jump back to here. Just again ask Google for doing something really wrong here. See if there's something we're missing. You try the admin credentials again, see if that works. All right, let's try the admin credentials again. So now for this, we're going to have to go and add these back into the configuration. But that's okay, we can do that. Yep, so it's failed to load the tags, that's okay. Because it doesn't have permission to read it, so let's... And we'll call this one Docker History Server paste there. And then we'll do, this one will be docker history server password. I'm just going to drag this off for a sec, just while I do that. Okay. Okay, and I'll drag this back across now. Alright, just keeping our credentials safe. Okay, and now we should save that. Okay, so that's that there. So now we go back to the deployment center. Are you able to connect using the admin credentials? No, I'm still getting a failed. Let's just give that a save. Okay, that seems to be okay now. Let's go check that configuration, see if they added anything extra into there. No, we got those ones there. Now let's go see if I have been able to pull that container down. No, still seems like it wants an authentication. Now let's flip this back to managed identity. If I hit save again, now is it going to work? Which is going to be problematic. Might have a look at what this GitHub Actions one does, see if that actually gives us a bit more information. Though I'm expecting that again, that won't be Terraform, that'll be using the Azure CLI. It's not quite what we want. Okay, save. Saving configuration did not work. Okay. Something didn't like that. Alright, so it was able to pull that time. Which isn't really helping us here. Let's go look at the configuration. Alright. Just gonna go and try put some of this stuff back in here and try a few extra things. Just checking and see if I can find some examples of this running. So here's an example from Terraform, the provider. So again, we're doing the right thing here with the plans there. Let's have a look at what we're doing here. This is with authentication. We don't really want authentication. Yeah, a lot of these examples aren't really giving us any of that kind of how to connect this to ACR, which is kind of part of the issue. I'm wondering if I should remove this app settings. And leave the site config there. Leave this system assigned there. And what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to disable the build here. So we're going to take a few steps back here. Just going to disable that. We're just going to comment that out. I'm just going to test the Terraform config. Alright. I'm just going to come in here and do that pull request merge. Yeah, so we just need to sort out this authentication piece, so that we can know that we're getting that in. Okay, not sure what that was doing there, but that's all right. So that pull request has been done. Back into the actions now. So we're getting that plan done. But I have noticed that it's not really refreshing the plan. Alright, let's go have a look at that plan. What did that tell us? So removing that. So moving. I wonder if this is part of the issue here. It shouldn't be. So it's applying now. Alright, so it's done that apply. Okay, so let's go and refresh this. So that should be on latest. Let's go have a look at the configuration. Right, so we don't have any configuration there, which is fine. Let's go have a look at the deployment center. Okay, so that's telling us it's a private repository and the image is found. Okay. It's not what we want. Let's try and set this up now. Just do a system assign. We'll select the registry. And we'll put the image as that one, and the tag is latest. And we'll save that. Right. And let's take a minute for that to try and pull again. Okay, so it's pulling the image to do with running the token service. And it was still failing because it's saying unauthorized. Okay. And we got the identity here, that's fine. I'm just gonna check. And we got the role assignment is there. So why don't you want to work? And look what's going on with this deployment center. Yeah, something funny is happening here. Okay, it's just being a bit slow today. That's alright. Okay. Okay, so, well, that could be the issue there. So I've given it that when I should be giving it that. So let's try again. No, didn't like that one for me for a sec. Alright, so still waiting for it to attempt to pull. Okay, no, I think that's running again, so let's go just check. Okay, so we are running. So running on the configuration of, we've got a Docker registry to URL there, that's fine. I'm using a managed identity. Okay. So, what I want to do, first of all, let's do a login. So I'm going to try and compare what we have kind of with our plan at the moment and see what the differences are. So just authenticating and sent 2FA. Alright. So just logging in there. Alright. Now I should be able to go. Should be on it to the back end. Right. Now I should be able to do a Terraform plan. What do you want me to do that? Put it that. You want me to go and remove those because I don't actually need that set up there. Well, we'll see. We'll see what I do need set up. Okay. So we have an app sitting here. So let's put this in. So we don't want that. I want that. So set that URL, that's fine. In the site config, we want to say, yeah, okay, not ID. That is true. Right, let's run another plan and see how that's differing. I'm going to remove those two in a minute because I don't think I need them. Missing space there. But while I'm doing that, let's go get rid of those. Don't think we're using that either. Doesn't like app settings there. Why don't we like app settings here? Settings is not expected here. Pretty sure that's let's just jump into here again. What did I do previously? So something is not working here. So let's go. How did I have it previously? Okay, I want to see. Let's compare that. Let's compare that to how I had it previously here. Okay, now there we go. So it's that's the issue. It's running as key pairs, and it's okay. So let's run that now. Okay. Alright. So it still has one thing to change. Not sure why it's changing that, so that should just be HPS BMC Twitch. Now for ACR. And then it doesn't, so do the Docker image. What's that? Okay, let's try that plan now. All right. Still doesn't like something of the way I've set this up. Nope, there we go. So most likely to typo in there somewhere. Okay. So that's telling me that that's fine. So if we do, so let's just right. So this tells me then that we should be right. The app should stay as it is. I'll just confirm the app is currently running, and it is. So that's good. So I must have a typo in here somewhere and in here somewhere. That's fine. Okay. So let's merge that change in. Actually, let's also let's merge it in before we then undo that. So make that new pull request. Okay, merge that one in. Yeah, one thing at a time. This should be fine, so there shouldn't be any changes required here. Okay, let's check a couple messages. Alrighty, so where are we? Oh, boy, this is getting late. Oh, okay, so we're doing our plan. Once this runs through successfully, then what we'll do is we will re-enable the build component here, because what we want to do is ensure that when we're deploying to the app service, when we're changing this image name, we're not then breaking anything. Cool, no changes found, that's great. And then the apply is going to be fine. So let's go ahead, let's uncomment this stuff. Push that up as well. Yep, so that's good, that's good. Oops, wrong page. Alright, so let's do this pull request, and then once this one's working, we'll close this branch. For now, let's create a pull request and merge it. Okay. Now let's check this action. Okay, so let's go back to here. We know that still on latest here. Don't know why the container image is showing that. That's a bit funny, but let's just not sure what's going on with that, but the app is still running, so that's fine. Okay, now we are showing, it's being a bit buggy tonight with what it is and isn't showing here, but we are seeing here now the correct, okay, it's just, then the app is running, so it's fine. Alright, Terraform plan's done, there are no changes. Terraform plan. So this should also be fine with the way we're doing this, so because we are pushing the latest image, we're not going to be changing anything to do with what the image name is, so that shouldn't cause any change to the configuration for the Terraform. So that should be fine. So we just effectively, what we should be doing here is building, pushing the images, and then restarting the app service and making it pull the latest image again. But that's what we're going to verify. So verify to make sure that is the case. Alright, so we're doing our Docker build, log in, double push the images, and then we will go and check, make sure that the website is still functional. If it is, then what we'll do is we'll close that branch off, make a new branch, we'll make a code change to that we can see in the application, and then we'll push that up. And if that works, then we've got CI/CD properly working. Or at least a very simple CI/CD. So there's a few other things I want to do. I want to do a cleanup pass on this, which will be fine. So we're going through, we're doing the image build, doing the whole .NET component. Okay, so then we should do the second one in a minute. Once this is done, it'll push it up to the repository. Now we're doing the second build. So in the second build again, it's just to tag it latest, so that we have the direct version available in the registry, and then there's a constantly updating latest version. And then we use that latest tag in the application. For YAML, not like GitHub Copilot is kind of the biggest one for YAML. I don't really use too many extensions as far as YAML is concerned. Yeah, I'll just see what I've got installed locally at the moment. I don't think I have anything specific for YAML. Yeah, there's nothing really specific for YAML installed. So I reckon Copilot's great because it's an autocomplete. YAML's pretty heavily structured, so it's pretty easy for Copilot to use it. But yeah, end of the day, YAML I don't find gets too complicated that I've needed to have an extension for it. Alright, cool. That image build is done. Okay, so let's just go have a look here. Go into our app. And we're going to pop open the application. Now let's see if it broke. Alright, so it's loading, which makes me feel like it may either be pulling or it's broken and it's not able to get the image. Oh no, application's up. Let's go to the logs. No, logs that was able to pull. Yep, that time is the current time. Okay, great. Cool, so that looks like that is CI/CD up and running. So let's close that branch off. So I'm just going to delete that branch. I don't need that branch anymore. I'm going to check out main on my local and pull that down. Alright. And now let's make a new branch. We're going to say application update. I'm going to push, there we go, well, should really set up that auto push in my git config, just haven't got around to it yet. Alright, so we have that there. Now let's go and make an update. There you go, we just change the text in here. And we'll add that change. And we'll pull this out of website change and we will push. Alright, cool. Now we have our option for the PR, so we're going to say, yep, we're going to put that in. Well, it's much about filling out right now. And we're going to merge that request. And we'll delete that branch because we won't need that. Alright. So the website currently looks like this. Let's see if we've added in that text. So Terraform plan, and again I'll want to add in some check and inside the workflow to see if there are changes into the infra one here. then do the Terraform stuff. But if there are no changes, then don't run the Terraform code because it's not required. It does take a little bit of time. I mean, at the moment only taking 30-40 seconds, but I think as things get more complicated, as we add things later on, that time's just going to keep building up. So I interchangeably use Azure DevOps, so which essentially Team Foundation Server became Visual Studio Online, then became Azure DevOps. So I've used that a fair bit. They're similar but not. GitHub Actions is a lot more open, so the actions you can define yourself. There's not as many that are kind of come pre-built. There are some which is good, and then of course everyone can build them. Where with pipelines, it's a much more controlled environment. What I find with pipelines is that you have to do a bit more work around things to get the pipelines to do the same stuff. But once you do get to do it, it's just going to do it forever. So they're usually pretty solid. And if there's something pre-built, then it works great. A lot of the time what I find with pipelines and Terraform is that, thank you for the follow, I end up using kind of like bash script. So I install the Terraform tool and then I'm essentially using a run command and running the Terraform stuff rather than any specific action. So, but I mean, I do the same kind of thing here too. So you can see there's lots of run options here, but I am using some of the HashiCorp actions itself. End of the day, I prefer actions, but day to day I also use Microsoft pipelines. And they're both YAML, which helps. So, but you do there's a bit, sometimes you do find you're working in one and then all of a sudden you jump to another and it's a bit of a switch. Some of the stuff that Actions does as well, like you've got more permission type things which have to do more with the repositories. If you just start with YAML, yeah, look, YAML's going to be pretty similar across both of them. It's just about learning what each system wants you to provide it. But as far as YAML is concerned, the structure's all going to be pretty similar. So you're going to still have similar indents and things like that. So I wouldn't worry too much starting off YAML. I would always, if you're starting out with this stuff, I'd recommend using GitHub Actions just because it's kind of free to use. You can use it through GitHub, you can do your action stuff, and you can learn on the spot there. But if you're, say, got an employer and you're using Azure DevOps, learn on there as well. I mean, you're going to learn the same kind of things, and it's going to benefit you both ways. Cool. All right, so we have done our Docker image build. So that's been pushed up, and we've deployed to the app service, and we have restarted the app service. So what we want to do is refresh. Now it may take a while before this update comes through. So okay, so we just hit a refresh again and it's attempting to connect, which does mean that it should be pulling the image. And you see this is not exactly a highly available system with app service, so sometimes it does go down, so you don't have kind of multiple versions running at the same time. And there we go, we have achieved a full CI/CD pipeline. So we've made our change to our code, we've had that change then merged into our main branch, we've kicked off our CI/CD pipeline. We've done our Terraform plan and apply to make sure any changes are captured for the infrastructure. Then we've built our image based off our latest code base, pushed that image up into a container registry, and updated our app. So now we should be able to push changes quickly from code to production. We only have production mode, we don't have dev or anything, so it's a nice simple one to start with. Alrighty, so we only got 15 minutes left for tonight. Let's see, what else do we want to check here? So there's a few things I want to clean up inside what we have here, mainly around trying to remove a lot of hard-coded things. So not so much in the YAML. So this seems okay. I mean, I might put in something for the app name here, but inside the Terraform, might want to put this inside a variable just so that's cleaner. No, it's not too bad at the moment. So I've kind of stripped out a lot of the stuff we were doing earlier with by using a managed the system assigned identity, which gives it permissions, which is good. Alrighty, so that's all running. So that's what I want to do next time, is I want to set this up to work out if there are changes to a specific path, then run a specific workflow. And what that'll mean is that if there's changes to the infrastructure path, so anything in this path here, I wanted to run a workflow which will do the Terraform deploy. So Terraform apply, so plan and apply, and then after it's done that, kick off the application build. But I want if the change is only in the application itself, then I don't want to do all that Terraform stuff. I just want to run a pipeline that does that. And we also want to set up a nightly build. And that's just so that, let's say in the case we were working with a team, we would want to have those nightly builds running to tell us if something managed to sneak through into the pipeline or into the code base, which is failing to build. So it's a very quick, simple pipeline where we're just building the application. Actually, I might try and set that up now, just in the last kind of 10 minutes or so. So let's do that. Let's call this nightly build. Alright, so, and what we're going to do is we'll just grab this stuff here. So this is our triggers. So not really generate, so I'll show you through with what I'm doing here. This will trigger each night and run that nightly build so that you have that list. So let's rename this nightly build. Okay, now it's on a schedule. There we are. So that was GitHub Copilot, just effectively helping me with that. So this should be then effectively runs at midnight. So it runs on a schedule with cron. And then workflow dispatch here is just the way that you can manually kind of run the pipeline at any time. Okay. Yeah, let's just give it the standard permissions. Do I need to set up environment? I don't think I'll need environmental variables because I'm not doing any of the Azure component here, so that's fine. And then we're going to set that up, jobs, and then we will call this, oh, there we go. Well, GitHub Copilot suggesting a whole heap of stuff here, but we're not needing something that much. But we will call it build, and then we'll call it build. Yep, we're going to run it on Ubuntu latest. We're not going to set it to be the infra, we want it on our application. I don't think we need any environmental variables on that one. And then we just put back, and then we go to steps. See, I'm still, even though I do this all the time, I always go back and check my previous pipeline just to make sure that everything is consistent across the pipeline. So, alright, so what's going to suggest here? It's going to suggest checkout, set up a .NET, build, test, publish, yeah. A whole lot of stuff here we're not doing, but that's okay. But start with what we are. So we'll do check out. All right. This is a cool little feature. If you've not seen this before, this is fetch depth. This allows you to tell it how much of the Git repository to pull back. So if you don't use this, you can get the entire Git repository with all the changes and everything all at once, which is fine for most repositories. They're not too big. But if you're dealing with a very large code base, then that's going to cause problems. It's going to take time, and you want these to be quite quick. Alright, so that's the fetch. And then we want to, set up .NET. And I'm actually going to do setup .NET 7. I'm just going to pump that away. I don't want the preview. I'm just going to do .NET 7. Okay. And I'm going to do, let's see, we want to do restore here. So I'm going to restore. So that'll run .NET restore, and then we'll run a .NET build. Now, if we had unit tests, we would also put that in here, and that's something I'll add kind of later. But that should be enough for now for just verifying that that works. So now we're still on the application update branch, which I deleted. So, but if I do push, that's right, so that's going to recreate that branch for me, and we'll just add that. And we add nightly builds, and we push that up. Alright, so let's go back to GitHub. Okay. Now, we're mostly not going to see the workflow there at the moment, because we're sitting on the main branch. Okay, it's complaining we're one commit ahead, one behind, just because we're working off a branch that hasn't pulled back from master, but that's okay. So we're not doing anything particularly complicated there. Okay, cool. Alright, let's do a pull request and let's merge that change in. So there we go, so that's our nightly build change. We're gonna create that. Alright, we'll delete that branch again. Okay. Now it's rerunning our pipeline here because we have updated this workflow. So what I should do is I should exclude any updates to the workflows from triggering this pipeline. And what I'm going to do just while we're waiting is I'm going to run the nightly build. Now the other thing I should do with the nightly build, I should ensure that always runs just on the main. That's fine. Alright, so it didn't like my format for, I'm guessing that's the .NET. Yeah. So if I go look at that, here we go. Actions. What was the action? It was the actions setup.net. So most likely want, let's do setup.net 7.0.x. It's just doing that. It's fine. And we're doing the checkout v3. And reckons that's a v3. So that's something Copilot didn't pick up, was that we needed the v3 for that. That's okay. Okay. Now let's just check. Let's see if, so that's for nightly releases, but I just want to check. No, that's using someone else's action. That's for Azure DevOps. I don't want that one. Let's do a few fixes first. So let's do an exclude path. Here we go. So this is pull request. So we're going through the GitHub documentation here. Tags, branches to ignore. We don't want branches. Path. So that was 4. So let's actually. I've got changes to one of these files. Let's undo that just because I forgot to switch back to my branch. Okay. And then we'll call this and I need to do my -b, so it creates my branch. Push, and we'll grab this, and push. Okay. So I'm just gonna grab that. Grab that. Alright, and I want to go and update this one to exclude. So that's part, that's schedule. So paths ignore, that's the one we want. So on here, so it's on push branches, then we want paths ignore. Let's go up here and so paths ignore. Well, we don't want the app. We'll ignore any updates to license. That's all good. So that's good there. So we've got a cron there. That should be fine. Alright. So add those changes. Alright, and we'll push that up. And then we will merge that in. No, it's our code. Oh, there's a branch there for a moment while we fix these things up. Okay, and then we can see there we haven't kicked off a build for the app service, which is good. Let's rerun that nightly build. Okay, and that's giving me a nice green tick, so that's gone ahead, that's set up. Okay, that's fine. Okay, that's actually telling us that the .NET ones are installed, so we maybe don't need that with this, but we're running it as restore, and we're doing the .NET build. The build is successful, 0 warnings and errors. That's good. So that should then give us our nightly build. So we will check when we come back to this next week. We'll be able to see if that's working. I'll go clean up that branch now that I don't need. That's good, and then go to my local. Make sure we pull that. Make sure everything's up to date. Alrighty. Well, I think we are good here. App service is running. We're getting. Reload that page. Yep, that's still updated. Application's still running. We've got using our internal identity rather than supplying credentials through the pipeline, which is always good. So I think everything is looking good there. So next time we will mostly spend some time doing some actual app dev. So might do some cleanup here on the pipeline, but I do want to get into some application development around identity in .NET and integrating with Active Directory, so Azure Active Directory, and then mostly adding a database to the application, which will then require that we update the infrastructure. We start looking at how we want to store connection strings and security that way, so mostly looking at Azure Key Vault, and then using the Microsoft Identity framework to integrate with Azure Active Directory. So hopefully everyone's had fun this evening and was able to learn something, or at least watch me fumble my way through why app service didn't want to update and why I couldn't connect to my registry. But it's all working now. We have the nightly builds, so that'll tell us over the week, make sure there's no issues. So yeah, feel free to give me a follow on the channel or reach out to me. I think I've got my Twitter there. The GitHub repo is all publicly available. I'll just throw that into the chat again. There we go. So I will be back to do this project next week. So Monday, kind of Australian, 8 till 11 p.m. And I may jump on during the week. I've got a few AI things I want to play with. So yeah, just watch out for notifications for that. Yeah, hope everyone has a great night, and I'll talk to you later.